Hello, SB Hellwick Doodles. I'm going to read you a little something from this ancient book that I have. Etiquette, Travel Section. If you wish to be at ease under any circumstance with any kind of person, by all means travel as much as your time and pocketbook permit. Travel is broadening if you undertake it with an open mind and a receptive heart. Even though English is now virtually an international language, the knowledge of English alone is limiting to the traveler. Knowing at least a little of the language of the country or countries you are to visit not only is courteous to the people there, but adds to your own pleasure and convenience. It is so easy to pick up the basic vocabulary of almost any language these days through the studying methods developed by the army. You don't even have to be a linguist to become amazingly proficient in a relatively short time. Studying a new language in preparation for a trip can give you travels, a breath, and interest they would never have had without this new, exciting stimulus. It helps along with knowledge of what is expected to make travel more enjoyable. Perhaps the biggest advice to the traveler is go to new countries and new places as if you had no set taste and standards by which you could judge what you are about to see and experience, even what you are about to eat. Do not seek out your own countrymen in foreign lands. Stay away from so-called American restaurants and tourist traps. Do not demand American style efficiency, sanitation, manners, and service. Accept your surroundings with grace and tact. Relax and learn to enjoy the new and different life without making individuals comparisons. You may be as American as you wish when you get back home. We're just going to do behavior abroad ship. All right, you guys? I know this is crazy. I'm looking crazy and I'm reading a book about etiquette, but don't worry about that. Just take the education. Traveling by ship, plane, and train. Behavior abroad ship. A ship may be compared to a country hotel. It is good manners to greet other passengers in a friendly fashion without, however, making presumptuous overtures. You speak to people next to you in deck chairs, but you do not force conversation upon them. In general, as in a friend's house, the roof is the introduction. But this does not mean you are expected to do more than bow in greeting to fellow passengers as you encounter them during the day. Congenial people usually introduce themselves to one another in short order aboard ship, but it should be kept in mind that shipboard friendships, like shipboard romances, usually end when the boat docks. Despite many pro- protestations to the contrary, the passenger who bares his soul to all who will listen to him within the first hour or two of embarkation looks very silly to sophisticated travelers. Seating in the dining room prior to the ship's departure, it is desirable to see the second steward about your table reservations unless you have made application in advance from the steamship company. People with small children are expected to take the first sitting unless the children are to eat with their nurse and the parents eat alone at a later hour. If you are seated at a table with any of the ship's officers, bear in mind that the officer acts as the table's host and passengers await his appearance before ordering. If he is unavoidably detained, he sends a message to that effect. It only it a lady a lady seated with several gentlemen and perhaps another lady does not wish to come to a meal. It is courteous of her to send word to the table with her steward so the others will not wait. Dress abroad, transatlantic ships. Clothing aboard ships is casual during the daytime. The short the sort of clothing the sort of clothes worn at a country club in any good resort at best they are conservative, with shorts and bathing apparel confined to the swimming and sports area. Slacks on women, slacks on women to whom they are becoming are seen on all decks, to some extent in the dining room, for breakfast, and to a lesser extent at lunch. Men wear coats at all meals too, on first class liners. They do not wear sports clothes at night in the public rooms or dining room. Women may not Women may or may not wear hats as they please on deck or at daytime meals in the evening, except in tourist and cabin class. There is some attempt at formality, depending, of course, on the ship on which one travels. On the great transatlantic liners during jackets are the general, though not obligatory, rule. It is never bad taste to appear in dinner dress and on ships where a captain's or gala dinner is given. Formally is expected with men wearing dinner jackets and women appearing, if they wish, in full evening dress. On some ships, this special night is made into a fancy dress affair, which permits considerable leeway in costumes. These are usually available from the ship's stores, but if you Know a costume affair to be the ship's custom. You may take along your own. The costumes that win prizes, however, are usually the ones that are ex- extemporized out of whatever happens to be on hand in one's baggage. But quite a few diehards attend such evenings in their usual clothes and enjoy themselves nonetheless, with perhaps a paper hat added to give the right festive note. That's funny. When one doesn't dress on the first and last nights out, it is customary for passengers to wear their ordinary travel clothes. Presumably, the extenses of packing and unpacking are too great for any degree of formality to be expected on these nights. Behavior at table. Other passengers at your table are treated exactly as if you were with them in your own home. Conversation is expected. Gentlemen rise when ladies are seated and wait until ladies' orders are taken before ordering themselves on ships. Where wine or cocktails are not included in the meal, it is usual for a guest at the table who wishes either or both of these includes the others at the table in an invitation to join him in an invitation which may be refused, of course, with proper courtesy. When passengers are assigned to various tables in the dining room by the second steward, a table for the captain and other tables for the ship's officers are made up from the passenger list. Distinguished passengers pre-summarily occupy these coveted seats. It is possible to refuse to sit at the captain's table or elsewhere in a place of honor if one has a very good excuse. During the trip, it is permissible to shift seats at table in order to join friends, only with the consent of the chef steward. Tipping aboard ships. Just before debarking, a passenger tips the following personnel: room steward, table steward, head waiter, wine steward, if he's been used, and deck and bath steward. The steward who has taken care of your cabin receives $7.50 to $10 per person, as does the table steward and head waiter. Ladies are attended by both steward and stewardess. The tip of $7.50 to $10 is divided between them at the end of the voyage. Deck steward receives $1 or more, depending on the amount of service they have rendered. Passengers without private bath tip, the bath steward $1 at the end of the voyage, and the boots receive $1 for keeping shoes shined. Cabin boys are usually tipped at the time they perform their small services, if at all. Bar attendants are usually tipped at the time of service if the bill is settled at the time. If the check is signed by a regular frequenter or the smoke room, he might prefer to tip at the end of the voyage. On some ships, the card signing custom prevails. On others, payments is required at the time of ordering. On most ships, the chef steward is classed as a ship's officer and as such is never tipped. Dressing for cruises. Cruises are always less formal than transatlantic crossings. A larger wardrobe of sports clothes includes sunsuits, beach robes, and even clothes for active sports such as riding ashore if time permits is usual. Dinner clothes are not essential, but the majority of people wear them. For men, a white dinner jacket is customary on tropical cruises, but an ordinary dinner jacket is also acceptable and by some events preferred. That was Behavior Abroad Chip. Thank you for listening. How did I close it?